Hi, guys, and welcome back to Too Much. Couple things. Couple things we're going to just jump right out of the gate with. Number one, I launched the fucking merch today, hence why I'm wearing the tank top. So fucking excited. Oh wait, actually, I didn't even launch today. That was a complete lie. Today was early access. Tomorrow it officially launches, but by the time you hear this and watch this, it'll be the following Tuesday of when it launched. So it's fully launched now for you guys, but the high I'm currently on is just from early access. This is early access high. So high, in fact, that my second point is that I've been up since 4:30 this morning. I'm also getting over a cold, so I'm a little nasally. There's just a lot going on, but I'm here. In typical Emma fashion, I had my first merch call on May 5th or 6th, pulled it together for a May 22nd launch. So fucking excited. Merch has been like my dream since I started a podcast. Never got it over the finish line with the last podcast, but this one, it was a top priority. Also, I feel like it is just so in the ethos of Too Much. It's like everything I preach is be too much, wear it loud and proud. It's like, I should give you something to fucking wear then if I'm telling you to shout it from the rooftops. So I launched hats and wine tumblers and tank tops, sweatshirts, tote bags, the works. This is just drop number one. I'm going to be doing seasonal drops, so there'll be another one for fall where I'll be doing like hoodies and sweatpants and like make it a bit more cozy, some new colorways, all of that. My little FIT fashion girly dreams coming true. Also, I think this might be my first episode with the shorter bob. So many updates, actually, guys. This is what's weird about having a solo podcast. No one ever actually asks me what's going on and what's new, so I just have to word vomit to you guys. This is new. Obviously, got the bob, but then my hair grew so quickly that it became a lob. And I was like, I can't have a lob. So I chopped it again. I asked the guy to just go like a little bit shorter, and he went like a lot of bit shorter. So I feel like I'm somewhat berries and creaming right now. It sounds a lot more sexual than I intended, but this is the new cut, new tank. Who is she today? Also, I've been up since 4:30 because I was so excited about the launch and I had an email going out at 6 a.m. So I like couldn't stop thinking. Woke up at 4:30, came up with an app. I came up with my next 3 episodes. I switched the episode for today. So I'm just fucking all over the place is the moral of the story. But I'm here. I've had a venti coffee. I don't think I've had any water today. It's 1:35 p.m. We are just going to go down the fucking rabbit hole. And of course, again, in typical Emma fashion, I chose like the heaviest episode. Not really, not the most heavy. I've done heavier, but today we are talking about narcissism. This is such a hot topic, such a word that honestly is thrown around far too much, if I'm being honest. I feel like since TikTok culture and podcast culture has taken off, those are oftentimes the videos that are going viral, ones that are teaching about gaslighting and love bombing and narcissism. And I don't really think everyone has a complete grasp on what it means. I love all the information that's out there. I think it's great. I know for me personally, I didn't even know what it was until I researched it for an Unhinged episode. I'd obviously heard the word before, but I didn't really know what it meant in totality. But I think where it gets a little gray nowadays is that it's thrown around a bit too much. um, and I'm definitely going to be very loopy today, guys. So it's thrown around a bit too much to where everyone's a narcissist, or if someone is selfish, they're a narcissist, or if someone's mean, they're a narcissist. And that's not technically the case. Someone who's a narcissist actually has a mental disorder. It's called NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. It's the same thing as if you were to call someone bipolar or schizophrenic, it's a personality disorder. So it is actually a very intense and specific psychological label to place on someone. However, what I want to really get into today is the difference between a narcissist and someone who has narcissistic tendencies or displays narcissistic behaviors, because both can exist exclusively. You don't have to be a narcissist to display narcissistic tendencies and behaviors. So that's really what we're going to get into today. And also, what I want to be very clear on is this is not just going to be about men being narcissists. We love to call our exes narcissists, but it's not just your ex. What if it's your best friend? What if it's your boss? What if it's your mom? What a lot of people fail to talk about is that women can be narcissists too. So I am going to level the playing field a little bit today, or a lot of it, and really talk about just narcissism in general, in humans, rather than just men. We're not here to man bash today. This is just about the behaviors that we are all seeing and on the receiving end of. So with all that said, this is going to be part 1 of my narcissism TED Talk. I'll get into how to spot the difference and how to know you're dealing with a narcissist and what to look for, the red flags. But part 2 will be how to deal with one, what to do if you're in that situation, how to walk away, all of that. Because I would be sitting here for 3 fucking hours if I had to cover all of that today. And my brain cannot handle that. And a reminder, this whole episode is not about labeling other people so that we can feel superior. It's about understanding the patterns that you might be on the receiving end of so that you can be smarter and savvier in your relationships, friendships, whatever, throughout your life. Also, it's Memorial Day weekend, and I want to get the fuck out of here and on the road to go down to the shore. DTS, baby. Never said that in my life. This is going to be rough. Alrighty, let's go down the fucking rabbit hole. Okay, so what is narcissistic personality disorder? This is from the internet. NPD is a diagnosable mental health condition. A narcissist is someone who exhibits patterns of extreme self-absorbency. They're extremely self-centered, they're manipulative, and they lack empathy. This is also coupled with an inflated sense of self. There's grandiosity. They have a deep need for validation. And to them, it's all about ego, protecting it, defending it, deflecting if anything comes their way that might jeopardize this sense of self. But despite what you may think based on TikTok videos and how often it's thrown around, only a very small percentage of people actually fit the criteria to have NPD. I'll get into all of the traits of a narcissist, but there are 9 specific traits that fall under that narcissist definition, and you have to have at least 5 of them, so a majority of them, to be considered a narcissist. And a doctor can actually clinically diagnose you for this. This isn't just like us calling out the bad behavior of our exes or something. So more commonly than actually being a narcissist, people have narcissistic traits. And this distinction matters because we can't just go around labeling people with psychological disorders, mental health disorders. But that behavior that they are displaying can absolutely and does impact the well-being of those on the receiving end. So let's get into it. So here are the key behaviors of a narcissist. But these are also the singular traits that someone could be displaying. Number 1 is lack of empathy. I think this is probably the biggest one. Obviously, empathy is being able to understand what someone's going through, even though it doesn't directly affect you. Even though you're not walking in their shoes, you get it, you feel for them. So someone who is displaying these narcissistic tendencies, they are unable to see your side of things. In a romantic relationship, this could be you crying and getting really upset about something. And instead of your partner consoling you and sitting there and saying, I understand, I'm so sorry, I feel for you, acknowledging your feelings, they get annoyed. They dismiss you. They're like, why are you crying? You're playing victim. You're like, they just can't understand. In a friendship, you might be going through something really tough and they somehow find a way to make it about them. They don't have the mental capacity to show empathy for you and just give you your space, your time, and your moment. Instead, they're like, no, I need this attention to still come back on me. Number 2, inflated sense of self-importance. They think their needs, time, opinions matter more than anyone else's. They need to be the center of gravity. The world revolves around them. Number 3 is they need an excessive amount of admiration. They are constantly fishing for validation, praise, compliments. And, these days it can definitely be something that's done through social media or in group settings, the pick-me types. And then if you don't give it to them, they get mad at you for not supporting them. You're an unsupportive friend. I'm talking over here. I'm saying something. You should be excited for me. Why aren't you excited for me? Then we have the manipulative and exploitative behavior. This is probably the largest tentpole on the behavior spectrum. This is where the love bombing comes in, the gaslighting comes in. This is where they are deploying these tactics to get what they want at any cost. They use guilt, charm, chaos, anything to control dynamics. This is also when they manipulate situations to become the victim. A narcissist's favorite way to manipulate is to only acknowledge your reactions to a scenario rather than their actions that cause the scenario to happen in the first place. Then we have the true fragile ego that's beneath all of the arrogance. This confidence usually is not real. It's usually something that they put on so they can uphold this grandiosity. It's a mask. That's why the moment they're criticized or challenged, it's like deflect and attack. They lash out, they stonewall, they withdraw affection. All hell breaks loose if you go for the ego of a narcissist. When I first learned what narcissism was, I am not gonna lie, I kind of read through this list and I was like, they think they're really great. They like the attention on them. They have a lot of confidence. And I was like, am I a narcissist? Just because I was reading the definition and taking it out of context like that and reading these like bulleted behaviors. But the key piece here is that a narcissist would not consider if they're a narcissist. A narcissist would never say, am I displaying narcissistic behavior right now? Am I not taking accountability? Am I gaslighting this person? They don't question that. It is their world. They can do no wrong. They are the best. So that's when I realized I wasn't a narcissist. In case you're feeling that way, I just wanted to calm your nerves. Maybe it's just me. Who knows? So those are like the main key behaviors. And it's typically that if you have a majority of those, you are considered a narcissist. But those can be just someone who's being an asshole. If they're doing any of those things, you could sit there and argue they're displaying narcissistic behavior right now. What they're doing right now is considered narcissism. But that doesn't make them a narcissist, always. A narcissist will always make themselves one of three things: the hero, the victim, or the martyr. Because these are the defense mechanisms that they deploy when their ego is attacked or they're feeling challenged. They construct this false image to avoid taking accountability, to gain back control, and to maintain that admiration or even sympathy from others. So for the hero, for example, that's the, oh my gosh, look what I did for everyone. Look at what I am bringing to the table. I'm the hero. You need me. They're overstating their contributions so that there's an exaggeration of their importance or their role in a group or in your life. The group part is if it's a friend, and then in your life, if it's a partner. If someone is sitting there and saying, you would be nothing without me. I am your hero. I saved them from themselves, that kind of a thing. Then we have the victim, where even if they're doing something wrong, they're going to flip the narrative and let everyone know that everyone's always out to get them. They can't tolerate being the bad guy, so they flip the script to gain sympathy. If you set the boundary, you're cruel. If you walk away, you abandon them. And this keeps people around, not out of love, but out of guilt. And then we have the martyr, who is saying, I give everything and I get nothing in return. I'm like rolling my eyes because just as I'm hearing myself say all of this, it's just so triggering of all the people I've dealt with in my past that act this way. And it's infuriating. This version, the martyr, is really common with covert narcissists. And covert narcissists are the ones that are wolves hiding in sheep's clothing. They present themselves as self-sacrificing, but in reality, it's manipulation. They weaponize the guilt. After everything I have done for you, how dare you do this? It is emotional blackmail wrapped up in some selflessness. The biggest takeaway is that narcissists need control. They need control of how they're perceived, how the people around them view them, and to make sure that they are always up on this pedestal that they view themselves on. They're going to ensure that they are never the villain, even when they truly are. So when I mentioned this covert narcissism, that really plays into the fact that narcissism is on a spectrum. It goes from overt to covert. The covert ones are the ones that are a little less obvious. They're passive aggressive. They kind of move in the night mysteriously. And to me, those are the most dangerous ones because they're really manipulating and moving the pawns to maintain the control. The overt ones are the ones that are charming and trying to distract with this big personality, and they're magnetic and they're quick to dominate a room. And this spectrum matters because a lot of times we only notice the big, drastic things that people are doing. But in actuality, there's a lot of these micro behaviors and micro actions that are being done that over time, with consistency, whittles us down as the recipient. Typically, when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's a lot of high highs and low lows. It's like a roller coaster. And this can be with friendships or romantic relationships. Love bombing does not have to be just with romantic love. The highs can look like being the hype woman, always doing things for you and making you feel really good. But then all of a sudden, it'll be cushioned with some passive aggressive comments, or suddenly you're not feeling good about yourself when you're around them. You're feeling emotionally drained. You don't really understand why, because the next second they're nice again. So it's a lot of inconsistency, and the inconsistency is the pattern. And I don't know about you, but my entire understanding in the beginning, my understanding of narcissism was that it is typically men. We're kind of taught that it's the big CEOs, it's the people in power, it's the asshole boyfriend. And we kind of forget that it can be your best friend, or it could be that people pleaser in the group. When narcissism is displayed in women, it looks a lot different than men. In women, it tends to be emotional manipulation and more always playing the victim. It could be someone that is chronically jealous or competitive in really subtle ways that you don't always pick up on. They're like little jabs. Like I remember like getting ready with people, and it's that person that's telling you not to wear that dress that you know you look amazing in. And they're like, no, it doesn't look good on you, because they don't want you to look better than them. That kind of a thing. I know we all have had that friend. They're outwardly supportive, but secretly resentful of your success or your looks or just the fact that people like you, because it comes naturally to you. And for them, they have to fake it. They have to have a facade up all the time, which I can imagine is exhausting. And in friendships, it can also look like that friend who has everything revolving around them, or it's the one-upper, the people pleaser, the people who are always flipping the script, so you, for some reason, always need to apologize. Now, again, I am saying all of this with a grain of salt. There are people who are people pleasers just because they are insecure and they want to feel loved. That does not make them a narcissist. That doesn't always mean it's a narcissistic tendency. It's really when the motive is for control or for destruction, to harm someone else or control a narrative at the expense of your feelings. Like that's when it's an issue. So you do need to be able to identify the difference. If someone's just giving is their love language and they always want to give gifts, that doesn't always mean they're love bombing you. So there are nuances to all of this. But again, it's when it's a pattern. It's when it's driven from a selfish place and not from a place of genuine love. And we'll get how to spot the difference between genuine love and narcissism and fake love. So that's all the psychology behind narcissists and what narcissistic behaviors can look like. And like I said, it all has a motive. It all has an agenda. It's someone who cannot bear to look vulnerable, weak, or imperfect in any way. Now, to achieve this, there are some very particular tactics that narcissists deploy. The biggest one of all is the narcissistic cycle, which is also known as hoovering. And essentially, it is the 3 stages of idealizing, devaluing, and discarding. And then this cycle goes round and round and round again. Or if you're old like me, you know what a hoover is, and that's a vacuum. So when someone vacuums, they go back and forth over a spot. They hoover. Essentially, it's someone who is going to praise you, love you, or love bomb you, give you this sense of connection. Romantically speaking, this could be someone who lays it on really thick in the beginning. It's the I miss yous, it's the babes, it's the early I love you, showering you with gifts. With friends, this might look like the instant best friend energy, texting them all the time, deep conversations, compliments, being that hype girl, which could be amazing. I have had those instant best friendships where you just click immediately because you're kindred spirits. But the difference is when the devaluing happens. They've put you on this pedestal, and then they slowly start to knock you down and devalue you. This sudden shift happens. There starts to be more criticism. They start to be a little judgy, and you suddenly feel like you're walking on eggshells. And then there's also something that happens in our minds where we want that idealization back. We want that love bomb back. We want that initial high, that dopamine that they gave us back. So as they're sitting there devaluing us, we're like, wait a minute, where did that love go? What do I have to do to get that back? So bear with me. They put us up here. We're on a high. We're like, fuck yeah, this guy loves me. I might marry him. Or I'm having the best time with this girl. She's going to be my fucking maid of honor. Then the shift happens. And we start to fall down this hole, looking up at where we were, being like, wait, how the fuck do I get back up there? So we start clawing and we start doing things to get that praise back, to get that love and affection back. And they're just not having it. They're maybe ignoring us. The texting is becoming less. They're not making us feel as good as they did in the beginning. They might. When you do something good, they might give it back to you. And then you keep doing that. And they're stringing you along essentially because it's a reward-based system that is suddenly implemented. And you have no idea that it's going on. But you just want that dopamine back. So that's the devalue stage. And then once they're done with you, or once they've found something better and shinier and someone who maybe doesn't seem so pathetic to them because they're reaching for this affection and they're trying so hard to get back up there, they discard you. And that's when you get into the discard stage. So at this point, they ghost you. They lash out. I've even seen it where they'll lash out so hard that they make you break up with them. And then boom, you're the villain. You broke up with them. They wanted to stay in the relationship, but their discard agenda is carried out. So those are the 3 stages. And typically with a narcissist, a couple weeks go by, a couple months go by, whatever it may be, once they're feeling that void again, they will come back and they will start idolizing you again. They're going to come back into your life and they're going to start with the love bombing again. And they're going to start breadcrumbing you with all of this affection again. And you're going to be confused and you're going to want it back. You're just going to fall into the fucking trap. I'm generalizing here when I'm saying you. I'm talking about the example in the situation of someone who actually is in this. But that is the cycle. Those are the 3 stages. So that is the biggest tactic of a narcissist. Triggered. So triggered. This is something that I honestly went through with a guy right before Mr. Right. And I think I've talked about when I met him, how I was spiraling one day because I was talking to some guy and he was ghosting me. I call him the old man because he was 20 years older than me. I was 29 at the time and he was 48, so 19 years, whatever. I have never been love bombed so fucking hard in my entire life. I'm going to do an episode on love bombing, so I'll tell that story then. But essentially, this man love bombed me and made me feel like we were going to get married. I met him July 4th weekend. My lease was up in August, and I was like, well, maybe I'll be moving in with him, so I should just sit tight on finding a place. Like, what? I was a serious love bomb victim. Anyways, he did this whole love bombing thing. And then after about 2 months, we did start to fight. But, you know, to me, it was kind of like, oh, the honeymoon phase is fizzling out. And like, this is just kind of the relationship that we're in now. And like, it felt actually more real because there were these fights. But I did notice in the fights that he was not very good at taking accountability. And he really wasn't able to see my side. And then he would kind of buy me gifts and he would do things for me. And that would make me think that, I don't know, that everything was going to be okay. And that was the idolizing and that cycle again of like these high highs and the low lows. So that started to happen. And then just as things got really good, he ripped the rug out from under me and he went to Burning Man. Then he ghosted me for 8 days. I'll get into the full story one day because I don't have that much time left, but he ghosted me. The discard happened. And I luckily was of sound mind that I spiraled a little bit and kind of like went after Mr. Right. And I started, seeing him. We went on our first date, but then sure as shit, like the 8 days later, this guy came back and he started love bombing again. He started, baby, I miss you, this, that. And I was like, fuck you. Like, you just ghosted me. And thank God I had that mentality. But it was amazing to me because I had never really experienced this cycle. Typically, when something ends with me and a guy, it just ends and it's over and I never talk to them again. I don't pick back up. But this was the first time where someone like came back and really tried and I had to be like, no, sorry, I'm seeing someone else. Thank God. But it was really hard to do because I liked our high highs and I wanted that back, but I had some dignity, so I didn't go for it. I didn't take the bait. So anyways, that is the narcissistic discard, the cycle. Next on the list, we have love bombing. I think we all know what love bombing is, but I don't think people really realize how frequently and often it happens. This could be the 8-hour first date. This could be someone calling you babe, baby, right out the gate. Have you ever like gone away for the weekend and met a guy and you basically fall madly in love with each other and you're going to visit each other and you're going to go on a date in a week and all this happens and you're the girl that they've been looking for and his mom would love you and he can't wait to show you XYZ and you're going to travel here together. And then the weekend away ends and you never hear from him again. That was because that was a love bomb, baby. That guy got exactly what he needed out of that love bombing. He said all these sweet nothings to you, these empty promises, and you were like gaga and giving him that love back. He was taking it in, but he had no intention of continuing this relationship or whatever it is. It was a quick dopamine hit for the weekend. That's love bombing. Now, love bombing can also be in the physical sense of the gifts, where it's like you're receiving a pair of Louboutins on the second date. That's never happened to me. But this is really hard to identify as a woman because love bombing is really not something that we label as love bombing until after the fact. Until the love is bombed, all the gift giving happens, and then they split. And then you're like, I was love bombed. But if it keeps going and it ends up being that they're a gift giver and they're just a great person, then it's like, you never consider it love bombing. It just started off hot and heavy, So it's definitely something that is like hindsight. But as you understand these terms and as you understand narcissism and how dangerous these types of behaviors can be, you can start to identify it early on. So if someone starts to lay it on thick right away, it's like, you should uphold a boundary where you're like pumping the brakes. You're like, I don't need to meet your parents on the second date. That's okay. I'll meet them another time. Protect yourself from love bombing. That's my quick little tip of advice. I know I said part 2, I'll do all the advice, but that's number 2, love bombing. Then we have gaslighting. Good old fucking gaslighting. Another one that is kind of thrown around a lot. That's when they're sitting there saying, that never happened. You're imagining things. You're questioning your memory, perception, and sanity. Then we have projection, where they're accusing you of doing the very things that they are doing themselves. Cheating, lying, manipulating. Like you could catch them in a lie and they'd be like, you're lying. And you're like, what? It deflects the blame and makes you feel defensive even though you're being observant. Like you calling them out for being shady and they say, why are you so jealous? Why are you being so crazy? Gaslighting. Then we have triangulation, which is bringing in third parties. That's when someone says like, I have literally never had a friend treat me this way. Or I've never had a girlfriend act this way. And bringing into question your sanity based on other people, whether or not that's true or not. Then, of course, like I mentioned before, you have silent treatment and devaluation. Devaluation is always like very subtle. It's like, I love how you don't care about how you look anymore. I love that you could just like go out in public and like not care what people think about you. That's devaluation. Then similar to love bombing, you have future faking, where it's like, we're going to go on this vacation together. You're going to meet my mom, all these things to make you reach for the future and stick around for the future. But they never have any intention of it actually coming true. And lastly, you have victim blaming and smear campaigns. So there are a lot of tactics. I could go on for fucking ever, but they're all extremely covert. And you have to identify also like how you're feeling around these people. All of these behaviors can be so belittling and harmful to your own ego and your own mental health. So you need to be able to spot the difference. For example, frequency of communication. A lot of narcissists with this love bombing will shower you with attention. They'll be texting you all the time, nonstop, and with intensity. That's not normal. Someone who loves you will text you with intention. They'll be interdependent, and there'll be a balance of their own needs and yours. It won't feel so intense right away. Sometimes from a narcissist, you might be getting mixed signals because of the inconsistencies. They'll tell you that you're amazing, these over-the-top words and all of these over-the-top feelings, but their actions and their words don't line up. They make empty promises so that you stay hooked. That's that future faking. Real love is consistent. Real love will sit there and align their actions with their words. That old guy that I was talking about used to sit there and say, we're going to go here in Italy and here and blah, 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 and whatever. Nothing ever happened. It became my biggest pet peeve of like, yeah, sure, I'll believe it when I see it kind of a thing. Now I have a partner who, even when we first started dating, he would say, I'll call you tomorrow. And he called me tomorrow. Or he would say, we're going to reschedule. And we would actually reschedule. Then how high you feel, you really need to understand and take into consideration if that's normal or not. Are you feeling really low when you leave them? Are you only high when you're with them? People who love bomb you are making you feel like you're the most important, most amazing person in the world when you're with them. And then sometimes you leave them and then you're craving that attention again. You're feeling really low and confused and you're waiting by the phone and you're like, when are they gonna text me? When are they gonna, because you want that dopamine back. It's intoxicating. When a person is genuine about their love for you, they're cautiously optimistic. They want the future to happen, but they also are protecting their own feelings. They're not going to sit there and like create this fantasy world because they don't want to do their own head in either. They have something to lose. Narcissists do not. I can't believe I literally have just been rambling for the last hour. And I went on far too fucking long. So I think I even need to cut this part one even shorter than I had initially planned. But I do think I covered the main points of what a narcissist is. So that was just a very, very deep and heavy, intense 101 session. I had so many stories that I wanted to share, but I really just couldn't get to them today. So in part 2 of narcissism, I'm really going to give my real life experiences, talk about the ex that I call the narcissist and this guy that I keep talking about, the old man. Those are probably the two that I experienced it the most with and the ones that really fucked with my head. So more to come there. I will try to do that sooner rather than later. And then I'm also going to talk about how to fucking deal with a narcissist, because what my quick parting words will be as far as advice is, it's almost impossible to reason with a narcissist. They're the hardest people to get through to. They hardly take accountability, and trying to convince them that you're right or prove your worth to them a lot of times is not worth it. So if you feel like you are dealing with someone that falls under these patterns that I've mentioned, I would advise you to not really waste your breath. We'll, like I said, continue to talk about this in the next episode, but I don't want to leave you hanging if you're sitting here being like, oh my God, this is everyone in my life or a specific person in my life. Just know, number one, not everyone is a narcissist. But if you feel like you are emotionally eroded, that is enough reason to walk away. You don't have to be abused to walk away. Confused, drained, and diminished is enough. So set boundaries. Hang tight until part 2. I'm sorry if this feels rushed. Like I said, kind of a odd day today. Feel free to drop a comment or DM me with any situations or scenarios or relationships that you have where you have dealt with narcissism. And I can definitely like touch on that in the next episode. I feel like this might be like a part 3-er, but thank you guys for tuning in and leave a girl 5 stars. Follow, comment, subscribe. Emma's Too Much on all the platforms. And I will see you guys next week.